After finding out my wife lied to me about being a virgin, I slept with her friend. We've been married for 2 years and have been together for 4. She said on our first date that she had never been with anybody else. This was all on her own, with no prompting from me. I had also never been with anybody else at the time and told her about it. However, I never told her or gave her any reason to think that would have been a deal breaker for me. So she had no incentive to lie in the first place, and she had even less motivation to keep lying. We wait till our wedding night to do the deed, so it may be special for her. Then, approximately a month and a half ago, it was revealed that she had lost her virginity 2 years before we met. Okay, that's startling, but I suppose I can live with it. But once the cat is out of the bag, she decides to come clean and tell me that not only was she not a virgin, but she had been with several different guys before we were married. And the worst part of it is that one of them is a guy with whom she insisted that I be friends, and she has forced me to go out on dates with this guy and his girlfriend. The notion of this one in particular makes me sick to my stomach. That being said, after telling me all of this, she says she feels fantastic about herself since the weight of lying is no longer on her shoulders and she feels much better. I simply sat there staring at her for a few minutes, and her mood completely changed. She begins shouting at me and chastising me for making her feel horrible. In about 3 minutes, she called me a kid, a wimp, and a slew of other words I can't even remember. I simply sat there absorbing it the whole time, and my only answer to her was saying I was sorry since this was all so upsetting to me. This results in her throwing a plate at me, which hits me in the head and requires 3 stitches. We had never even raised our voices at each other until that night. She was genuinely sorry for striking me with the plate and apologized as I was leaving the ER. I went to bed once I got home since I had a splitting headache. The following morning, she's already up, wondering what I'm going to do to get over this. I told her I had no clue, since there really wasn't anything to get over other than the fact that she was forcing me to hang out with some person with whom she had in the past. This kind of dialogue continues for a week, and towards the end of the week, she is becoming more irritated. I'll confess that I made this initial error due to stress and continual arguing. I went into the bathroom and sobbed after being called a freak for being a virgin until my wedding night. I know it's not very macho, but everything was hitting me at once. I did it in quietly and not to irritate her. So she walks in on me, and instead of asking what's wrong or even, God forbid, comforting me when I'm unhappy, she becomes enraged because I'm making a huge deal out of everything. Mind you, she's the one who's initiated every single discussion about this. She claims she didn't inform me on purpose because she knew I'd act like a little about it. By this point, almost all of our friends are aware that she and I are feuding. I'm sure a few of them know why. I get a text message from her friend Tara, who wants to speak with me. She has summoned me to her flat. She then tells me that she feels bad because she has known about her history her whole life, and she wanted to let me know that throughout the first year we were dating, my wife and her male friend, with whom I had to be friends, continued to see each other. In other words, she was having with this person throughout the first year. I was told we had to wait for marriage. I'm not going to lie. This really touched home for me. I mean really hard, and I started crying again, so I excused myself and began to go. But Tara grabbed my hand and said she didn't want me to go or be alone, since I was so emotional. She held me for about 5 minutes as I wept like a baby. I wish I had left because it would have made my life so much simpler. Instead, I naively kissed her, and to my surprise, she kissed me back. We eventually had in her bed. I'm now so torn that I don't know what to do. I am a who cheats, and I despise myself for it. However, I am still enraged with my wife for the way she has treated me since this all began. Tara is such a great person, and it makes me feel even worse that, in addition to being a cheating, I also took advantage of a wonderful person and exploited her in ways I have never done with anybody before. To make matters worse, I believe I now have emotions for her, and unless I'm reading things incorrectly, I believe she does as well. My wife deserves to know, therefore I'll have to inform her. I really screwed up big time. Story 2. Wife cheats, ends up pregnant. So, I'm a 21-year-old woman who has been married to her wife for 3 years. I'll try not to get into too many specifics, but we've been married since March. Since March, she has cheated on me 3 times with 3 separate people, both men and women. Because of the circumstances I discussed before, we were effectively divided up between the first and third person. I know most of you are probably wondering why the heck you are still trying to make things work, but that also includes a lot of details. And as much as our tale is one for the books, there is much too much to delve into and far too much to write about. I never know how to condense a big narrative, haha. Anyway, after the third person, I've been trying to figure out whether we can get through this. She wants to be better, and I want to give her a chance, but with more time. That time has suddenly been cut short since she is pregnant. Part of me wishes she will abort it, because wouldn't that be better? Why enslave myself to a child in a relationship that is almost certainly doomed in the first place? While another part of me wants to see if I can make this work, take the child in as my own and attempt to work on us to establish the family we've always wanted, regardless of how it happened. Despite this, it really doesn't matter since she doesn't want to retain it. She's leaning heavily toward abortion, and, to a lesser extent, adoption. But I'm sure if she retains it for adoption, we'll end up keeping it. I'm not sure what I'm searching for here, / I think it's simply some counsel for this bizarre circumstance. Update. Okay, the reason I'm trying so hard to stick it out is because I believe in marriage. We were dating for 2 years before getting married, and she never cheated on me. There was a lot that transpired this year to lead up to the actions she performed. I know she loves me beyond everything else, and vice versa. However, she is not totally psychologically well. I knew who she was when I married her, but I still married her. She's a narcissist with a mental condition and an addiction, and I wasn't there to put her out. She acts in a haphazard manner. She didn't care about any of the individuals she cheated on. While I was gone, they were simply to her. She swatted them all away like flies. At the end of the day, I'm the only one she actually cares about. She's just messed up. You're probably thinking, yeah, well, get out of here. But I've always been there for this girl. She has been 16 years old. In any case, she's finally taking the effort to receive the assistance she needs. She had received assistance a few months ago, but the facility where she went was extremely shady. She also went to get further assistance. She's ready to make a concerted effort to transform who she is. Isn't that worthwhile? We're young, and I knew when we married that things may happen while we're still so young. But if we can make it beyond these early years, maybe we'll be all right, and maybe this kid will help put her straight as well as myself. I respect everyone's viewpoints and opinions, and I'm sure if I saw this in someone else's post, I'd advise them to go out as well. Every day, I tell myself the truth, but I'm at a loss. This is why I've come here to seek assistance from Reddit. Update 2. I failed to emphasize that no matter what occurs, the father will not play a part. That has already been determined. And as for the kid, I would never inflict anything on such a lovely, innocent person. Nothing is her fault, and I will never despise her. My wife is a lovely lady, and the kid will most likely be beautiful as well. And it's still half of her. I'm not interested in her father's side. I could easily adopt this as my kid and raise it. I was also not with her every time she cheated. I left over some other things months ago, and I'm still gone, but we've been attempting to solve things off and on for the whole time I've been gone. She never does anything wrong while we live with. We're together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so there's no way she could. I have access to her phone and all of her social media accounts. It's ideal when we're physically together. Many things would change if we actually got back together and tried to work it out. She would get the required assistance, most likely therapy for both of us. Perhaps I should see a therapist as well. And she's already agreed to delete all of her social media accounts and share a phone. Though that's a stretch, I don't need a phone anyhow, so maybe. So I just want to look at everything in context. We're married. We're still so young. I left her in the first place, which I should not have done if I really wanted our marriage to thrive, and she's prepared to do whatever it takes now to make this work. So I'm at a loss and don't know what to do.